Hello my friends, welcome back to another tutorial. I hope you're all keeping very well out there and painting some wonderful artwork. In this week's tutorial I am going to paint a beautiful Irish landscape, showing you how to create distant mountains and a little bit of foreground as well. A nice simple scene, but very colourful, lots of different colours and shades, and very eye-catching. I'm going to show you what we're painting today. You might like this one. Nice distant mountains, rich blue water, and a bit of foreground, a bit of land off in the distance, and some nice clouds. This will be a nice fun tutorial, I think, and you'll learn quite a bit about painting landscapes, and we'll kind of almost go back to basics for you. I want to try and show you how to go back to basics and just create a nice soft sky, nice soft distant mountains, and lots about colour. Okay, I'll show you how to create those wonderful distant colours in hills and mountains. So this is going to be fun. Do subscribe and give me a thumbs up as well if you haven't done so. I would really appreciate it. I really would. Again, thank you so much to all my patrons for your support as well. And I have another lovely picture coming on Patreon. I'm going to use a big canvas, a nice big landscape for Patreon coming soon, very soon. So keep a lookout for that. In the meantime, let's have a bit of fun with this. 16 by 12 canvas. I didn't prime it or anything, it's just a shop bought canvas. Some colours on my palette. Let's have a bit of fun. Come on, let's keep it nice and light and free and loose, and just create a nice simple landscape. Okay, don't go anywhere, I'll be right back. Okay my friends, let's go and have some fun with this. I did some pre-mixing here just to gauge colours. I am going to just wipe this off. Okay, I do that sometimes. I mix some shades up so I know what shades I'm going to use. It just helps, I think. Now, I have a quick sketch done here. Very faint outlines of the pencils. You see what I mean? Just the mountains and the outline of the river. There's the reference photograph. Now, I'll tell you what colours I have. Titanium white, Naples yellow, Phaylo blue, Cadmium yellow pale, magenta, burnt sienna, burnt umber, and lamp black. The first thing is that sky. Let's start with the sky. I'm going to mix a nice simple blue grey kind of a shade. Okay, I'm going to take some Phaylo blue, little touch of magenta, little touch of black, and then some white into that. Now, I don't want a very rich kind of a blue. I want a soft blue, so I'm putting plenty of black into this. A nice soft blacky grey with a hint of a warmth in it as well. Now just mess around with this until you feel you have the colour you want. I'm going to just start going around my hills with this shade. Maybe a hint more blue here and there. So it could be a bit more blue on one side. Nice rich blue sky coming through. We'll take that colour, we'll pop a little bit of it up here as well. I'm not painting the entire sky this colour, because I want my clouds later on to soften through all of these. And then look, I'm just being very loose and very rough with my brush. It's a very dry brush, by the way. You see that? Now I need to get more white on my palette. Get some white. Let's get plenty. Next, let's just go right into some white. With the same brush, pick up lots of white. Let's start going around in circles down here. Create those clouds, look. You see, I'm softening through all that blue to create nice shades, lights and darks, and a lot of movement in the sky as well. Go up here with some nice bright white as well. It's just about being loose, isn't it? Being nice and loose with your sky. And it's that simple. Just go around in little circles, mix all that colour together. You can leave it in some parts if you want a stronger shape of a cloud, just see, you can leave it, or you can add more, or just keep going until you're happy with this. But I wouldn't overdo this. I would just leave it nice and rough, okay? You want plenty of movement. That's what we're after. Now, there we go. I'm going to soften some of this together over here. I want it nice and soft. But then, in the middle, I want just a slightly defined cloud. So a little touch of Naples yellow with white. And let's just create slightly brighter clouds in there, look. You see what I mean? So that hint of Naples yellow, it just brightens everything right up, doesn't it? And it gives you that lovely glow in those clouds. I like that. That's quite nice, isn't it? We can put a couple more over here as well. But remember, let's not go crazy with this sky. It's just I just want to create a simple sky. A simple sky with lots of clouds moving around up there. Now, we're done. Let's soften this together very gently with our soft blender brush. And we still have left some of the marks for the clouds. Okay? There we go. Now, it's up to yourself how far you want to go with this. You can keep softening and softening and softening. It's up to yourself. I'm going to start painting these hills. Okay? I'm going to use this brush, the same brush. I'm just going to put in a nice base coat of colour for these hills. And I'm going to start with the shadow side of the hills, okay? It's a warm, mauvey shade. Bit of phthalo blue, bit of magenta, maybe a touch of burnt umber. Bit more magenta. Just keep going until we get the shade we feel is right for us. Maybe a touch of black, look. Take the tiniest touch of black as well. I'm going to just start putting in the darker sides of these hills. So I'm picking out little points. So let's go here, okay? There's a nice one over here. Again, add bits of colour to this if you feel you need to. A little bit of dark there, a little bit of dark here. We then have a much warmer colour, bit of magenta, bit of sienna. We have a much warmer pink coming into those as well. I'm just being very loose now with all of this. Okay, I just kind of picked out some of the darker spots. Now I'm going to go to a slightly smaller brush, a nice small flat brush, and I'm going to maybe take that same mix or something similar and just go along my edges and refine some of the dark spots on that. So, burnt umber, phthalo blue, magenta. I'm going to come down here. Look, we have a nice dark here, don't we? And we'll just go along and pick out the darker lines that we see. Okay? It's as simple as that. Just pick out the darker shades that you can see. And you will see as well, I'm using a very thin mix for all of this. I'm not putting on lots of thick paint. I'm just being very loose. Very, very loose. You see what I mean? Just nice, soft, nice thin coats. Now let's pick out the ones in the distance as well. I took a bit of white. They're very subtle, the ones in the distance. They're very, very subtle indeed. So I'm just taking a little bit of blue, bit of white. This all, I know, looks very random and very rough. But I promise, you know, when we start putting on the lighter shades, it will make sense. Okay, I generally like to start with the darker sides of the mountains. Now let's clean this brush and mix a nice bright colour for the brights on these. Let's go with Naples yellow, magenta. So we have this beautiful pinky shade, a bit more Naples. And then let's try a touch of black into this, tiny touch. Now if that's a bit dark, take a bit of white. So it's this soft, kind of a pinky, taupe kind of a shade. Let's start painting in our mountains. Okay, I'm just painting the kind of light sides of the hills. But what I'm doing then is I'm going to soften these into the darks, look. I'm going to pull those lighter shades across into the darks in the same direction, and that's going to give me the shape of the mountain and the direction of the hill. Now, you can kind of see what I mean. So I'm using the brush to give me the shape of my mountain and the direction in which the mountain is falling. That's very important. Now let's get a bit more white. Put a bit more of a white one up here and then turn it and just drag it down, you see? And that gives you a little bit of snow on the hill in the distance, you see that? Let's do the same with this one. Because they're so far away and they're so high up, they might have bits of snow and stuff like that on them as well. Coming to this one here, I think I've added an extra one in, but it's fine, it doesn't matter. You can add a couple in if you want. Let's come down, brighten this bit of a hill here. It's more on the flat, but nonetheless we can brighten it, go right across here. You see, just follow what you see on the photograph. So I'm just following the lights. I'm just following where they're going. It softens up into this hill here, doesn't it? Okay, comes across. But most of all, try and just have a bit of fun with all of this. Now, see, I'm just softening everything down together. I'm going to cut into that and give this a bit of a shape here. Okay, that's our hill over there. Then we have, this is kind of in darkness here, but I'm going to just brighten the darkness just a little bit. At the same time now when I'm doing this, I'm thinking I'm just giving the hills a bit of texture. You see what I mean? Texture is very important when painting mountains like this. It really is. So I am trying to give them a bit of texture as I go as well. Now, I may be suggesting that there's a lot more snow on the hills than what we can actually see. But that's all right. This is our painting. We can do what we like, can't we? Let's be honest, you know, we can change things up a little bit. Maybe it's a different season and there's just a bit more snow on the hills. Let's just pretend that there is. Okay? There's nothing wrong with pretending that it's a different time of year and there's different things going on in our landscape. Now, a bit of Naples yellow in here, a little bit across there perhaps. Clean the brush again. Now I'm going to just refine some of the darks on this. Phaylo blue, magenta, touch of burnt umber. I just want to refine some of them. Touch more magenta now, just make this nice and rich, okay? I want a nice rich colour for this. I'm going to come up here and just go down the back of this hill. Just to show plenty of shadow in these. You can see how I'm being very loose and very kind of rough with my brush, just allowing the paint to kind of scrape onto the canvas. I'm not putting solid marks on the canvas, okay? I'm not. I'm just being very, very loose with all of this. Now the next thing I need to do is to take a light blue, okay? I'm going to take a light blue and just start adding a light blue into the shaded sides of these, just here and there. That light blue, what it does, it lifts up the shadow. It just gives the shadow a little bit of life, okay? Phaylo blue, a little bit of white. And I think you'll see, it just kind of brings the shadow of the mountain to life, doesn't it? Just a little bit. Now you can, of course, mess around with this as much as you want. I am going to warm the hill slightly. See those warmer shades that we just did? I'm going to warm them just a little tiny bit. I think they need to be a little bit warmer, okay? So I'm going to add this warm shade through. Needs a bit of burnt umber, I think. Just going to add a little bit of that through these. It's all about just having fun with your colour. Now I'll take a bit of black into that and magenta. So you can see I'm just adding different shades as I go along. It's all very loose. It's a very loose technique. It's a very random technique, this type of painting. Soften it through as well with your fingertips. Now that's not bad. No, it's okay for what it is. I don't want to go into too much detail with all of this. We can refine these with a pointy brush later on, okay? Don't worry about that. Let's move on and do this lovely foreground that we have. I'm going to move to a smaller flat brush, okay? And I'm going to just go right in with a nice dark colour, some burnt umber and maybe a touch of burnt sienna. I'm going to just first go along my river bank just to pick that out, okay, like that. Then I'm going to go up like this. So now I know my lines. I have my lines picked out. I'm going to take some burnt umber and dab burnt umber, just burnt umber on its own first. I'm going to dab some of that across just to create a little impression of the land off in the distance over there, okay? Then I'll pop into some black. Go into some black as well. And just mix that through, just to create different types of tree lines and all of that. So we have a lot of stuff going on over here. And it's really more about picking out suggestions of little things. See, look, little tree tops. There could be anything, all right? It's just to add a bit of interest into the painting, that's all. Let's bring it down here like this. Now, I'll clean that brush very quickly. Then I'll start adding some lighter shades. So, sienna with some Naples yellow. We can just start dabbing some of that and scraping some of that into this area as well, just to create some slightly lighter shades, you see, the impression of a field or something like that. We can always take a hint of cadmium yellow as well. Just swish some of that colour here and there through these darks, okay? Now I'm taking a bit of green, cadmium yellow and a bit of phthalo blue. I'm going to get a warm green, and I'm just going to start putting a warm green towards the base down here. It's just a lot of fun doing this. You should really just try and be loose with your brush like this. It's just so much fun, it really is. Now before I move on, I'm going to take my pointy brush, right? I'm going to go into some white, and I'm going to put in little suggestions of maybe there's some buildings off in the distance over there. Just little marks with my brush. And you see what that does? It just immediately gives you a bit of detail without suggesting. You know, you're just suggesting that there's something there, and it just suggests a little bit of detail, that there's lots of buildings, and maybe there's a little town or something over there. You know, it really does work. It does work. And then maybe with some Naples yellow, pop in a few tiny suggestions of telegraph poles off there as well. Look, just one or two, and do the same with a little bit of black, just up in the top of the tree line. Maybe just pop one or two black lines here and there. That just gives you a little impression that there's detail in the painting. Now I will zoom in later and show you all of this, but it just gives you that little bit of impression. That's all it is. Let's go over here and add a few trees. I can see some nice trees over here. Just with the corner of the brush. A bit of burnt umber. I'm just dabbing these now very lightly. It's just to give an impression of something going on over on this side. Create a little line here, dark line. And then I'm cleaning the brush again and putting a nice bright green bit of land in, just there, okay? Let's get some paint. I need phthalo blue. Probably my most used colour in my palette. Phthalo blue is just the most beautiful colour. Phthalo blue, cadmium yellow, little touch of burnt sienna, just to warm that up. Okay, don't be shy with the burnt sienna. It gives you the most wonderful, warm green. Bit more sienna and more cadmium yellow, maybe a little bit of white. Now, let's just put that colour right across here like that. And you can see then, it also filters into this area over here, just very gently. Dab that along. And soften it back in, you see? Now, bit of burnt sienna, Naples yellow, just along the base. Just to add a bit of warmth into that. You bring a bit in over here as well. So, you see, I'm just using the tip of my pointy brush just to create these little swooshes of colour. That's all it is. Naples yellow. Okay? That's already looking quite nice, isn't it? I'm going to move down and put in the water. I think once we have the water in, then we kind of, you know, we know we're getting there, and we can concentrate more on details when the water is in, okay? Let's get it in, come on. Let's just take some phthalo blue. It's a rich colour, isn't it? Phthalo blue, a little bit of thinners, a bit of black. But it's very rich, isn't it? It's a very rich colour. It's a very dark, rich colour. Need a bit more black in that. Phthalo blue. Maybe a touch of magenta just to warm it ever so slightly. let's just fill this in. We can lighten this later if we need to, okay? We can add, you see, we can add bits of white into this as well. Let's just cut in to these little areas here. There we go. A nice rich colour on the water. So once we have that shade in, we can then start adding some tone into this. A little bit of a darkness here and there, look. Just bring a bit in there. We can add a bit of it over here as well, just to give a nice contrast. And already that looks like a nice contrast, doesn't it? Having that bit of dark over on one side. That looks quite nice. Then I'm going to take my white with a bit of blue, and I'm just going to very gently add a couple of highlights in, just here and there, look. If anything else, just to give the water a little bit of a shimmer, that's all. A tiny, tiny bit of a shimmer. Okay, now that's fine. Let's move on down and get this in, and let's be nice and free with this. So you can see I'm working very fast, aren't I? I generally tend to work very quickly when I'm painting this type of a landscape, because I find when you're using a small brush and you're there for 2 or 3 hours doing little things, I find it's not as spontaneous. I think this is, for me, a lot more spontaneous to work like this, because it just, you're more free, you're not so constricted when you're painting. You're a lot more, it's a lot more free, and you can be very loose and all of that. I just find it much more relaxing and enjoyable to paint like this, just painting everything nice and loose. I just do. Now, we have a base coat in like that, that's fine. I'm going to grab a fan brush. I'm simply going to go into some burnt umber, a little black, and let's just start dabbing and making little marks on the grass here, okay? This is all about, again, looseness is very important in all of this. You can see how quick now we can make a foreground just by a couple of dabs with a fan brush, swishing it around, being very loose. Isn't that amazing how fast you can do that? Now let's get some black. Go nice and dark here. Let's imagine there's bits of turf and all that kind of stuff, bogwood and bits of everything coming in from this side here. Then I'll take small pointy brush. Let's get some lines and just suggestions of things. You can even use a palette knife for this now as well if you like, okay? Leave it at that. Clean the fan brush again. And now we're going into some Naples yellow, bit of cadmium yellow, bit of white. Let me grab some white on my palette. I think overall this is looking quite nice. It's a nice, simple landscape. It's not overly complicated. I just tried to keep it simple for you. And I hope that has worked. A little bit of burnt sienna as well. Now, let's just put some grasses in here. So, this light against the dark blue will work fantastic. And just flick it up as you go along. You can flick it down as well, completely up to yourself, whichever way you do this. A bit of yellow in there, a bit of white, a bit of burnt umber, look. So just a mix of shades, just to get nice light grasses. And we have a nice rough ground. Just like that. Isn't that wonderful? Again, a little bit of white. Put a suggestion of some little bits of fences going through here. Take a bit of black, put some shadow on those. You can take some black and just come along and put some little dabs of colour in here as well. I'm just picking up random colours now just to create an impression of little things, just little things going on in here. You know what I mean? That just suggests to you that there's lots of little bits and bobs in here. Now, my friends, that is not bad. I don't think that's bad at all. One more thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take some Naples yellow, and I'm going to come down here and just sharpen up the edges of some of these with some Naples yellow on my palette knife, look. Just to give that little bit of texture. You see, just a little bit. A little bit is all you need. Now, is there any more we need to do to this painting? I don't think so. I think this looks quite nice. I've gotten what I wanted to get. I've achieved, I feel, what I wanted to achieve from this painting. I just wanted to keep it super loose and show you how to go kind of almost back to basics, really, in landscape painting. That's just what I wanted to show you. Nothing too fancy, nothing too complicated. Just a nice, simple, loose landscape. And this is a very easy way of just keeping landscapes very natural. By just keeping your brush strokes loose like this, it just keeps the painting very natural. You know, it doesn't look like someone sat there for 5 hours painting grass. It's just nice and loose, and that's the way I like to paint. I think you'll benefit if you try this. Just try it. If this is not your cup of tea, just try it once and see how you get on. And I bet you will have the time of your life and you'll enjoy this so much. Let me zoom in. So there's all those little details I put in, look. Little dabs of colour, that's all they were. Now I might kind of maybe try and refine some of the hills in this a little bit. What do you think? I think I'll darken some of the hills, maybe with a sharper, crisper kind of a brush. I think it needs it just slightly. So you can kind of add little things to these if you want. No problem. And what I might do also is, let me just get another brush, right? Because I do want to add some kind of proper snow onto the tips of these here. So it's not on the photograph, but I think it would be nice if I just added little dollops of snow on the high hills up here and bring it down. I think just to suggest more of a snowy hilltop, I think that will be a bit nicer. So just with my flat brush, look, I'm just going to go over some of those darks. A little bit of white. And just drag it down across the hill, you see? Let's try a bit over here. This will be a nice example now. Let's cut into that dark there, look. drag it down like this. Just the smallest little bit. Now I think that's a bit nicer. I'm a bit more happy with that. So my friends, what do we think of this? I think that's turned out quite nice. I think that's a very nice little painting with a frame on that. A nice simple Irish landscape. Let me turn the camera. I hope you've enjoyed watching this. That's just to show you how you can be very loose and quick with a landscape. You don't have to pick up a pointy brush and spend hours with details. You know, little suggestions, small dabs of colour here and there will suggest something to you. It doesn't have to look like it, but it can suggest something. That's what I enjoy painting, just loose landscapes like this, and it just opens you up a little bit to, you know, holding your brushes loosely and not thinking about detail, not thinking about making it look like a photograph all of the time, just a simple, nice, relaxing painting. And that's what it's all about. Thank you for watching. Do subscribe. I hope you've enjoyed watching. I hope you've learned something. Let me know if you have in the comment section. Just give me a comment. Let me know if it's helped in any way at all. I would be delighted to hear your comments, good or bad, I don't mind. Thank you so much and have a lovely day. I'll be back very soon with another tutorial, perhaps a nice sunset. I have my eye on a sunset which I'd like to try, so we might try that next on a big canvas. Thank you so much. Happy painting and God bless.